Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of our Bootcamp. Welcome to episode 2. If you've not watched episode 1, please do well to go back and watch it. It was a very impactful session, and this will also be impactful. My name is Teosi Janet Fauye, and I am the Human Resource Manager at Cedro. Today, we'll be looking at hiring beyond the CV, hiring beyond CV, so stay tuned. It's going to be a 30-minute session or less. Cedro Royal is a people-focused organization. We provide HR solutions, student solutions, agricultural solutions, and business development solutions. So whatever you need, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll definitely be at your service. Now, what is the outcome of this class? At the end of today's class, you should be able to understand why many SMEs make costly hiring mistake. You should know how to build a structured recruitment process, how to write very nice job description that attract the right candidates, how to conduct interviews without biases, and a lot more. So who is this session for? SME owners, founders, CEO, managing director, business managers, team leads, HR professionals, and entrepreneurs. And anyone who just feel like they actually do need this knowledge. Now let's dive right into it. Why hiring is more than filling vacancies, okay? Why is hiring more than filling vacancies? So under this, we'll be looking at recruitment as an investment, 3 questions every hiring manager should ask, and an example about the growing retail business, okay? So let's dive right into it. Now, I want you to think about your last recruitment, the last employee you actually hired. And at the end of the session, I want you to still think about that employee. Would you make the same hiring decision you made that day? Would you still make the same hiring decision? Right? That's something you need to think of. That will help you determine if you made a good hire or a bad hire. Okay. Now, many organizations think recruitment is simply about filling empty spaces or vacant positions, but it is not. It's more than that. Every hiring decision is an investment. When you hire someone, you're investing your time, you're investing your money, training, supervision, your trust into that person. Now, a good hire can improve your productivity, boost your team morals, improve your customer satisfaction. Whereas a bad hire can actually Whereas a bad hire can actually do harm, cause harm to your company. Okay. A bad hire can reduce your performance, increase your cost, damage your culture, and do a lot more. Now, what are 3 questions every hiring manager should ask? The first question is, why are we hiring? The first step in any recruitment is identifying a need. Why are you hiring? Is the role genuinely needed? Okay. Now, what problem would this person be solving? What problem are they solving for the company? What use are they to the company? Okay. Then you should also look at what does success in this role mean. If you can't measure success, if you can't define success, then there is no success to start with, right? So your success should be measurable. You should be able to define success. Now, a retail company had an issue. They experienced an increase in customer orders, and the owner immediately decided that, okay, it was time to hire another sales representative. But after a consultant came in and reviewed the business, it became clear that the issue was not a new sales representative. The issue was the way they were handling orders, their inventory. It was done manually. Now, after all the evaluation and everything, instead of hiring a new sales representative, the company decided to reassign responsibilities. Now, this they saved them a lot of money in hiring, in recruitment, in onboarding, saved them a lot of money. They just realized that, okay, what they're actually looking for is right there within their team. So they reassigned responsibilities and they know who is responsible for what. Okay. Now we'll be looking at the hidden cost of a bad hire. The hidden cost of a bad hire. Now, um, let's break it down, okay? What we'll be looking at the true cost of a bad hire, the Cedro cost framework, and the signs that you actually made a bad hire. Now, the first cost is the recruitment cost, because for every recruitment process you see, a lot of money have gone into job advertisement, CV screening, conducting interviews, and lots more. Recruitment cost. If you make a bad hire, you have to do that all over again. So you're doubling your recruitment cost. The second would be the training and the onboarding cost after recruitment, after making an offer. You have to train this person, you have to onboard this person to your company, and that costs a lot of money, to handle. Then the third is productivity loss. You just realize that, okay, one bad hire can actually affect your entire team, because instead of your other team members working on their own tasks, they're trying to solve the problem caused by this bad hire. Then it can impact your customers. Now it takes years to build a very favorable customer feedback, and it takes just one single mistake to lose it all. And a bad hire can cost you more than a single mistake, right? So it actually affects your customers. They do not really know the issues you're having within your team. All they know is they place an order, it has to be delivered at when due, right? Or a bad hire can actually cause a lot of mistakes with your customers. It can affect your team morale. When other team members see that this person is not working and is getting paid, you actually also start slacking up, and you know what that means to your team. Okay. Then leadership time, the time you're supposed to use to build strategies, build network, build your business growth. You're using it to solve problem. I apologize to customers. No, correct mistakes that this person have made. And that costs a lot of time. So beyond salary, beyond, oh, you paid the wrong person, you actually see that it affects your team even beyond financial impacts, right? And what is Cedro Royal pause framework? Before you say this person is a bad hire, you need to evaluate them. You need to pause. The P is for performance, the A is for ability, the U is for understanding, the S is for support, and the E is for environment. Now pause. Do this employee for performance, do this employee constantly fail at meeting expectations? Do they constantly fail at meeting expectations? That's the question you need to ask yourself before you say, oh, this is a bad hire, or oh, this is a good hire. Do they fail at meeting expectations? Do they have the ability? Do they have the skills required to perform this role? Have they received adequate training? Have they been trained? Right. Then U is understanding. Do they clearly understand what is expected of them, their KPIs? Do they understand these things? Then S is support. Have they received coaching? Have they received adequate coaching? Have they received feedback? Have they received the necessary tools, the resources? These are things you need to like think about before you say, oh, this is a bad hire. Then E, environment. Is the issue really the employee, or is it the poor management or poor leadership style of your company? Okay. Now, what are the signs that you may have actually made a bad hire? The first is persistent poor performance despite coaching. You've coached this person, you've trained this person, you've helped this person grow, but they are still performing poorly. Now, this sign does not automatically mean this person should be dismissed, but it means that there should be further assessment. You should assess this person more. Now, are they constantly performing like below standard despite the coaching? Are they resistant to feedback? Like you give feedback and they get angry, or they do not even want to hear it. Do they, your company's value, do they show that value? Maybe mutual respect, integrity, is this something that they show as a person? Right? Do they have difficulties adapting to your organization's value? Is this behavior constant? Is it repeated? Right? Is there lack of accountability whenever there's an issue that they maybe made a mistake? They tell you it's because of this person. Do they take ownership of their errors and try to correct them? Now, all these are things you need to look out for. Now, the key is consistency. Everyone can make a mistake, but a pattern of poor performance is different. When it has become a habit, a pattern, now those are things you need to look out for. Okay? Those are the signs that you may have actually made a bad hire. Now let's look at hiring beyond the CV. Hiring beyond CV, recruitment and interview. What are the best practices for SMEs? We're going to be looking at recruitment journey, the STAR interview technique, the questions that reveal more than CV, what you should listen for, the common recruitment biases, and Cedro Royal interview scorecard, and what you should do before making an offer. Now, what is the recruitment journey? These are the stages. So if you jump one stage or you rush one stage, you increase your chances of actually making a wrong hire. Now, what is this first stage, or what is the first step? Attract the right candidates. Recruitment begins with your vacancy adverts. Okay, a poor advert attracts poor applicants, unsuitable applicants. Now, instead of writing, oh, you're looking for a hardworking individual or someone with 10 years work experience, you can actually build that up, right? And say something like, oh, we're looking for a human resource officer. I'm using human resource because I'm a human resource officer. We're looking for a human resource officer with at least 2 years experience in recruitment, employee relation, had someone who has an excellent communication skill, an ability to multitask or manage multiple priorities. Now you've told them clearly what you want. Now this will help the candidate or the applicant evaluate themselves. They meet up with the standards, right? Now, what are the tips for better job advertisements? Now, your job title should be very clear. Company introduction, the purpose of the role, the key responsibilities of that person, right? Work location, is it hybrid, online, on-site? Is it where, if it's on-site, where is the location, right? Application deadline, those are informations that should go alongside your job description or your job advert. Step two is going to be the screening of CV, right? Many recruiters spend too much time looking out for design. Trust me, you're trying to recruit someone who is competent, not a graphics designer, except you're recruiting for a graphics designer, right? So focus on the substance, right? Ask those questions. Does this candidate have relevant experience? Do they demonstrate career progression, or are they jumping jobs every 3 months, right? Those are things you should look out for. What you should not look out for, do not reject a candidate simply because their CV is beautifully designed. It is not beautifully designed. Do not reject a candidate because they made typo or something. Look beyond what you are actually seeing. Look at their experience, look at their progression. Have they grown over time? Then three, conduct better interviews. An interview is not an interrogation. Stop interrogating your staff, right? Have a structured conversation. Have a list of questions you want to ask. Do not talk too much as a HR manager. I know sometimes we tend to talk a lot because we've handled a lot of recruitment, a lot of training, so we tend to talk a lot. But try to reduce that. Um ask open-ended questions, like questions that will allow them to tell you more about themselves, not ask yes or no questions, right? Then do not judge a candidate too quickly. Do not. Now let's move to the STAR interview technique. The STAR is situation, task, action, and results. Now these are the techniques you need to follow when doing an interview. First, there's the situation. Ask the candidate to describe a real situation. Ask them to describe a real situation. Task. Ask them what responsibility did they have, what role did they play in that situation. Action, that's the A. What are the steps? What exactly did they do? What exactly did they do? Then the R is the result. What was the outcome? Let me give you an example of that kind of question. Instead of saying, oh, are you good at resolving conflicts, or are you good at managing difficulties? Right? You can say something like, tell me Okay, you can say something like, tell me about a time you had a conflict with a colleague or a customer. What happened? What did you do? And what was the outcome? Now, this question reveals more about the candidate to you than their CV. Okay, now let's look at these questions. The questions will help you assess whether they have problem-solving skills, whether they are accountable, whether they communicate effectively, whether they are emotionally intelligent. To just reveal a lot about this person to you, right? What are those things you should listen for when this person is talking? First of all, do not just listen to what the candidate achieved, listen to how they think, right? Strong candidates often demonstrate ownership, reflection, learning, integrity, collaboration, teamwork. Those are things that they strong candidates will actually exhibit or show you. Be cautious if every success is an I successfully did this. And when there's an issue or there's a failure, you hear they did that, they did this. Be careful when you hear things like that. Now, what are the common recruitment biases that we tend to make as HR professionals? One is the halo effect, assuming that someone is excellent in every area because they impressed you in one. That's a very bad mistake. Do not just assume that. Let them actually impress you in other areas for you to say, oh, yeah, they are very impressive, right? Similarity bias, preferring a candidate just because they remind you of yourself when you were younger. That is a very big bias. Then first impression bias, they say first impression matters a lot, but you should not base your hiring decision on first impression only, right? Let there be confirmation. Let there be evidence that, oh, okay, what I actually think is true. Then confirmation bias, only looking out for information that supports your initial opinion, whether you like the person or you don't like the person. The next thing you're doing is looking for information or looking for evidence that support, oh, this is why I don't like the person. Oh, okay, this is why I like the person. Confirmation biases also are there. Now, what is the Cedro interview scorecard? Internally, when we do handle interview, these are the things we look out for. Your technical competence. Now we grade this on the scale of either 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. How competent are you in the technical part of this role? What are your communication skills? What are your problem solving skills? What are your cultural fit? What is your adaptability? What is your professionalism? How professional are you? And overall recommendation, your references and all of that. Those are things we look out for. We do not necessarily ask you, oh, what are your communication skills, or how do you communicate? No, but the way you talk, the way you tell us, determines all of that, and that is what we use in grading you. Now, before making an offer, these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Can this person perform this job? Will they fit into our company culture? Can they demonstrate our values? Can we support their growth? And lastly, you should be able to ask yourself, will I be comfortable working with this person every single day? Now, this is a very important question, right? Can you imagine yourself working with this person every day for like a year? And these are questions you need to ask yourself. Now let's go to beyond recruitment. After you've done your job advertisement, after you have done your selection, your CV screening, your selection, and you've made the offer. Now, beyond recruitment, onboarding. Now we're going to be looking at what is onboarding, why onboarding matters, the Cedro 5 onboarding framework, the first 90 days, the common onboarding mistake, and Cedro recruitment journey. Now, these are the things we are going to be looking out for, okay? Now, what is onboarding? Onboarding is a structured process of helping a new employee become confident, productive, and connected to the organization. This will help to help the employee understand the company better beyond what was advertised in the job ad. It goes beyond orientation. Orientation introduces the company. Onboarding integrates the employee into the company. It makes the employee feel they are part of the company now. Okay, now why do onboarding matter? A good onboarding leads to faster productivity, better employee engagement, higher confidence, stronger team relationships, and a better customer experience overall. Employees do not perform at their best simply because they are talented or simply because they are told to. They perform at their best when they are set up for success, when they see this is an opportunity for me to grow, this is an opportunity for me to improve myself, then they perform at their best. Now, what is the Cedro framework? What is the Cedro framework? We're going to be using an abbreviation called WELCOME. WELCOME is W is for welcome intentionally. An employee should never feel like a stranger. Do not have a new employee walk into your office. Another employees are asking, who are you? Who are you looking for? That kind of question, Inform your team ahead of time. Oh, someone will be joining us on Monday. Please do well to welcome him or her when you see that person. Let them feel welcome. Do not have a new employee resume and they do not have a desk, they do not have a workstation, the team has not been informed, no welcome buddy, all of that. No, it's discouraging actually, right? The next is E, explain the organization, help the employee, the company vision, the company mission, the company's culture, help them understand that. Then the L is lay out expectations. Don't just assume that they will figure things out as they go. Lay out your expectation, what is expected of them. Help them figure things out. Do not just leave them on their own. Then coach consistently. Don't just disappear after day one of onboarding. Coach consistently. Coach consistently. Now, open communication. Encourage the employee to ask questions if they're unclear. They shouldn't assume. They should ask questions. Measure progress. Review performance regularly. Let them know how you evaluate their performance. So that once you are telling them, oh, you're not meeting up to target or you're not meeting up to standard, they already know by evaluating themselves. Make it transparent, right? So that they don't feel like you're favoring one employee over the other. Then engage and encourage. Onboarding process does not need to end after the first day or the first week. Let it be a continuous process. Now, the first 90 days, the first 90 days, the first 90 days, the first 90 days, day 1 to day 30 is learning. Day 1 to day 30 is learning, understanding the business, meeting the team, training, and all of that. Day 31 to day 60 is applying the knowledge that they have learned, taking ownership, receiving feedback, building confidence. Day 61 to day 90 is working independently, achieving KPIs, contributing ideas, continuous improvement, etc. Now, what are the common onboarding mistakes? No training, no onboarding, no clear expectations, no feedback, just letting them figure things on their own, and that would not work. Now, what is the Cedro Royal recruitment journey? Plan. You need to plan, you need to recruit, you need to select, you need to onboard, you need to support, you need to develop, and you need to retain. right? Recruitment is only one stage. Building a great team is a continuous process. So please take note of that. Building a great team is a continuous process. Now we've come to the end of this, but before we leave, think about the last employee that joined the organization. If they were sitting here today, what would they say their onboarding experience was like for them? Would they describe it as confusing, average, exceptional? And also think of the last employee you recruited. After this training, would you make the same recruitment decision? Those are things you need to think about. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section and we'll get back to them as soon as we can. Before we leave, this is our team. Dr. Fakuni Aremu, he's the managing director. Aremu Feishayo, he's a finance manager. Toyosi Janet Fawe, that's myself. I'm the human resource manager. Jessica Bityong, executive coordinator, and Akimbodi Feishara, business development manager. Well, thank you for staying with me all through, and thank you for joining this episode 2. We look forward to seeing you in episode 3. We hope you've learned or picked a thing or two from this. If you've not watched episode 1, please do well to go back and watch that, and I'll see you all in. Thank you.